KSR's Jack Pilgrim here with, I believe on here you have yourself named Aaron Bradshaw is good, but
Oh,
KSR's
weird.
Zach Gagan live from Wells Fargo Center. Boots on the ground following Kentucky's 81-66 victory over Penn. Zach, awesome day for Aaron Bradshaw, but more than anything, above all else, an opportunity to get back in the win column after whatever the heck that was last week against UNC Wilmington. Move past that, time to throw that in the dumpster. We have fun Aaron Bradshaw basketball back.
Yeah, Bradshaw was great today. I'm looking at the stats here. What do we got? 17 points, 11 rebounds, 3 blocks as well. Just a really good all-around game from him. He played 29 minutes. Cal was talking in the post-game how he thought he was crazy for playing him 29 minutes, but every time he was out there, good things happened. He actually finished game high in the plus-minus as well. It just good things tend to happen when Aaron gets out there. It's still taking him a little bit to kind of get himself in the flow, but there was a moment there when you kind of saw him not necessarily clapping at Rob, but kind of encouraging Rob, being like, "Hey, come on, buddy, like get your mind together." So it's clear that he's already comfortable on the court. We saw him step out, hit a 3. That was a lot of fun. It would have been nice if that second one fell too, but yeah, really good game from Bradshaw. You could hear that there was definitely a Philly contingent here and that surrounding area cheering those guys on. Especially DJ and Justin both got kind of a nice pop from the mostly Kentucky crowd here. I'd say it was 80% Kentucky fans here. The arena, this is a big arena. I think it holds 21,000 people. I'd say it was about half full, but of that half full, a majority of the people were Kentucky fans. It confused the BHG sponsorships confused a lot of the Philadelphia-based people, but we had a lot of fun with that on Media Row. So from my perspective, I got to sit right next to the bench there. I got to see Cal go crazy, and he had a smile on his face in 1 second, and then he was crying and complaining the next second. Like, it was just a lot of fun to kind of see the firsthand experience there. But yeah, like you said, getting in the win column was the most important part here. We had another a big game from Aaron Bradshaw. That's what you really wanted. You want to see him kind of come along quickly, and it's really not taking him that long at all. I think he only practiced maybe a couple times this week, is what Cal said before he got in. DJ only practiced once as well this week before getting his call. So really good all-around game, other than I think, we'll talk about it more, but, Rob Reed kind of struggled a bit, but it was really nice to see Aaron come out there and have the type of game that he did.
Yeah, Cal, as we said last week in the rapid reaction, this was always going to be a process. When you throw a 7'1" stretch big who does a bunch of unique things, when you throw him into the mix, it's always going to be clunky. There are always going to be times where things look ugly. How does he work with Trey Mitchell? How does he work? Do we go a true 5 out? Cal kind of revealed some things earlier in the week during his call-in radio show where he said, it's just way too early to really go 5 out with him. So we're going to try to have Aaron Bradshaw playing, the true 5 inside, let him be a lob threat, let him be a cleanup specialist and kind of work his way out, while he figures things out. And we kind of got to see that throughout the game, almost exclusively to start the game. Bradshaw was a back to the basket, throw it inside, and just cleanup specialist inside. And then as the thing trended, we got to see him be that face-up big. He had that one miss from the left corner, mid-range jumper. Then he had the 2 threes. The second one that he missed was actually pretty close, a couple inches off.
Oh, yeah.
You're starting to see the vision. It was always going to be clunky. I know fans wanted to see the 120 point per game scoring, but if you are incorporating a 7-footer, you got to figure out how to, have the training wheels on him first before really taking off down the stretch. You're taking the day by day small losses for the long term big wins, and I think that in a 15-point win against a solid Penn team that really threw a lot of unique stuff at Kentucky, it was kind of a best-case scenario. They had to adjust defensively, really struggled at times defensively while also showing some really good things on the offensive end, and then settled in defensively there at the very end. So I like the way that from the opening tip to the very end of the game, the way we saw this team progress. And if they're doing that in one game, I'd like to see how it's going to go in game 2, 3, 4, 5. And we got some news that Ugan Onyenso is going to play next week against UNC. So more 7-footers to throw in the mix, but we're at least starting to see the vision here, Zach.
Jack Pilgrim had that Uganda scoop first. If y'all want to go over to KS Board, you would have known about it a couple of days ago before Cal. But yeah, Bradshaw, I think the 2 biggest parts of the Bradshaw came around the rim, and it was on both ends of the floor. He cleaned up a couple of garbage plays where just missed layups, like barely fall out. He was right there for those. That doesn't happen, earlier in the season. And the same, I think his biggest block was maybe at the end of the first half, maybe it was, where he pretty much just slapped it against or off the backboard. Just having that ability there. And then I remember there was a point later in the game where Penn's best player, his name was Sladger. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that kid, he was on fire. He was 6 for 8 in the first half. And then in the second half, there was a point where he was kind of scared to go up and take some of the shots that he was hitting because he saw Aaron in the paint there. And that's just an intimidating force enough to deter him from wanting to take those shots. I think he airballed one of his floaters when Aaron was in the vicinity because he's just such a presence around there. He's so long and lengthy that once Penn knew that he was out there and he could do those type of things, it definitely scared them a little bit. But yeah, so having all these 7-footers, I think the offense definitely slowed down a bit. And that's probably just what you're going to see is they're going to tire down a little bit more just because having Aaron out there is going to. That's just how it's going to happen. That's just when you add a 7-foot-1 guy, things are just going to slow down a little bit. But I really like the lineups where you've got Aaron and Trey. Trey didn't really have a great shooting night tonight, but when he's on and you've got 3 guards around those two, that's just a very well-rounded team that can kind of do a lot on both ends of the floor. The defense is still just the guard defense is still kind of an issue right now. I don't know if that's ever going to kind of fix itself. I think freshman guards just aren't very good at on-ball defense, so that's something that will probably get better as the season progresses. But coming back to having Aaron and then hopefully soon having Ugana, just funnel those guys towards 7-footers and things will mostly kind of weigh themselves out. So
the point is to raise the defensive floor. Having those bigs raises the defensive floor because it's very clear the just straight up on-ball defense with the guards. It's not getting better. They can do as many wall sits and lane slides and do all of the old school mental gymnastics that we saw earlier in the week with Cal. We can try all of that, but at some point the defense just kind of is what it is on the perimeter. You got to have some shot blocking to kind of counter some of that and raise the defensive floor. And even if it takes a little bit off of the offensive ceiling where you're scoring 120 points a game, you really want this thing to kind of level out at 85 to 60-ish victories. And as we saw today, 81-66. You're going to see a lot of these type of performances throughout the season getting into SEC play. And it just comes with time. It comes with experience. Things are going to look clunky. Things are going to slow down at times. But the ceiling is so much higher with this group. And the floor is higher with this group when you have the 7-footers in. So I think that's fans just kind of need to take a step back and realize that as well. Nick Spinoso, the bane of my existence. We were talking about Slaughter.
Yeah, I didn't realize what was your beef with him. I don't really understand it.
He was just physical and was just that annoying presence. 10 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 blocks, 1 steal, 5 turnovers, and he missed a hell of a lot of free throws too. 2 for 5 from the line. So thank God he can't make free throws. But he was a grade A pain in the ass. I'm not a Nick Spinoso fan. Great team player for Penn, but I'm glad that we don't have to play him ever again. I do not like him.
Another point that I was really happy about with this game was Kentucky. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong. Kentucky did not trail in this game.
Does not appear so. No leads.
There was multiple times that it went down to 1. There was one point it went down to 1. A couple times it went down to 2. Even in the second half there, where I think Penn had the 6-0 run to end the first half, and then maybe a 7-2 run to start the second half. Kentucky just responded. They responded every single time. Sometimes it wasn't pretty, but they always found ways to respond, and I think that was a good growing point, especially having to throw in a guy like DJ who didn't play last week and who kind of, like I said, only practiced once this week, and you have off nights from guys like Reed and Rob, Rob was kind of all everywhere. This was a classic, the bad side of Rob tonight. You kind of saw that with just kind of all over the place, wasn't really in a flow or a rhythm. I think part of that might just be playing with Aaron. He's not used to having a guy that's 7 foot, maybe in the space that he likes to go into. So that's something I think will work itself out eventually. But I was really impressed with how Kentucky responded to all the punches that were being thrown. It's obvious it's against Penn, so you chalk it up to however you like, win or credibility wise in terms of the win. But I was impressed with that, especially in a neutral setting, stuff like that. So that was another thing I was impressed with.
Two guys that did see their time on the floor take a little bit of a hit. Duthero goes for 6 points in 15 minutes, and Justin Edwards, even in his homecoming matchup, we're starting to see that kind of slowly take hit after hit after hit. What do you do with Justin Edwards? That's the one question that I have. 6 points, 3 of 5 shooting.
He was in foul trouble.
He was in foul trouble in the first half. It just feels like if there's one guy that's kind of being left behind a little bit, it is Justin. What's the breakthrough moment for him? How does that get fixed?
That is an awesome question that I wish Cal Perry knew the answer to. I think with Justin is if he's kind of the guy that's trailing behind, I don't want to say it's a good thing for Kentucky, but kind of compared to the other freshmen, I'd rather have the guards kind of be already on the right track. And I still think that Justin will eventually get to that point because Kentucky's really only going to run with an 8-man rotation, and Justin's going to be a part of that. And he will have moments where he gets himself going. I think, maybe just playing in front of his home crowd and stuff like that had a little bit of an influence on him. But it'll come for Justin at some point, I'm sure. It's just going to be a matter of really just getting the confidence in his shot right now. I don't think he has much confidence in the way he's shooting the ball, and that's kind of what it all boils down to. And once he gets that, which I do think he will, things will turn around for him. So,
Zach, another week-long break. It was not fun following a loss against UNC Wilmington, waiting just kind of impatiently to get that bad taste out of our mouth. Now we have a good taste to kind of have this week-long break.
Tasty.
What do you need to see in this next week in practice before we go back into the gauntlet, taking on a very, very solid UNC team down in Atlanta for yet another high-profile event in the CBS Sports Classic?
Rebounding. I think that's going to be the main thing, especially going up against Baycott with North Carolina. That's going to be one of the biggest storylines will be how can Kentucky rebound. Cal he pointed out in the post-game press conference that Penn averages 13.5 offensive rebounds per game. They had 5 tonight. Kentucky won the rebounding battle by 10. And that's just what having a 7-footer does. Cal even mentioned that he invented rebounding drills during this week of practice because that was such a huge point of emphasis. And I don't think it was an emphasis necessarily for this game. It was more of an emphasis for just moving forward, looking ahead to that North Carolina game. But you wanted to try and make that a point now because if this team can rebound, like even Trey, I think had, Trey didn't play that well, but he had 9 rebounds as well. So if you are getting your bigs to rebound, and I think Reed even had 5 rebounds. So if the guys are going to dedicate themselves to getting rebounds, that'll just help things all around. I think that's another way that Justin can get himself going. We've talked about that before, where Justin's even told us where he kind of uses rebounds to get himself into an offensive flow and into a rhythm, just getting himself the ball in his hands and kind of seeing himself, having the ball there. It just mentally helps him a little bit. So I think rebounding is going to be the main key, especially moving forward. Now that you've got these 7-footers back, you really have to emphasize that, and that's going to be a big key. And they did a great job today. So step 1 complete.
We will see John Calipari on next season's edition of Shark Tank with his new rebounding invention to get that thing figured out. His friend Mark Cuban will not be on the panel anymore, so I don't know if that's going to work for
R.I.P.
him. But, he'll just have to get that sorted out himself. Zach, you did great work. We appreciate you having boots on the ground from the Wells Fargo.
You want another view?
One last view while they get. I think the Villanova game's getting set up there.
It is. It is being transformed quickly into the Villanova. The BHG, the Malone sticker is gone. We've got the Villanova sticker there now. But it was a lot of fun here today. So I'm lucky to get the chance to do this, and it was a lot of fun. So shout out to Jack having a baby, making it so that he couldn't do this trip, and I could do it for him. Shout out to my sister for being in a grad school at Penn for giving me another reason to come up here. So those are my shout outs.
For Zach Gagan, for Jack Pilgrim, we'll see you next time on KSR's Rapid Reaction.